Hey, Jazz. Good afternoon. Okay. Hey, Nancy. Hey, Suni. You guys are trickling in. Guess I was a couple minutes late. Hi, Mary. Okay. I'm going to wait just 1 minute and see if we can bring on some other people. Okay. All right. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and get started. Hello to all of you. I have a pretty project today. It is sterling silver and turquoise bracelet. You could make it in fine silver too, but that will cost a little bit more for your silver. But it's kind of fun, and you can do, basically you can do whatever you want to do on a charm bracelet. I just happen to like turquoise and silver, that combination a lot. So that's what I'm showing today, but you can certainly do whatever you would like to do with it. I used a combination of different charms, of pre-made charms, beads, silver beads, some little metal clay embellishments that I made, and I soldered little loops onto them. And then for my turquoise, I just used, I have a strand of turquoise beads that I just put on little head pins with some daisy discs and other little things for some interest. So that's what I'm going to do today for the demo. Oh, okay, we got a bunch more people came in. Hello to all of you, Bonnie and Mary, Carol, Marianne. I hope I didn't miss anybody. But anyway, hello to you guys. I hope you're having a good afternoon on this gloomy and cold December day. Hey, Hilda. Hi, Cynthia. All right. We're getting a nice crowd here. All right. So basically, there's a lot going on to make this bracelet. So I made the chain first, and I cut my own rings. You can buy these sterling silver jump rings already made if you want to do that. If you have the ability to make your own, that's even better, because you can get all the different sizes that you need and not have to worry about whether someone has all the different sizes. But that being said, the sizes that I use in this particular bracelet, can be varied. You can use different sizes if you want. If use what you have on hand. If you do, if you don't, then I would suggest ordering them, in the sizes that I recommended. So I'm going to do a little bit of different things today. So I'm going to just briefly show you how I do the jump rings for those of you who don't know. I will solder on a couple of loops so you can see that process, and then we will make some of the chain and assemble some of the pieces. So, that's quite a bit going on. All right, what else? Okay, well, I guess, and then you guys, can chime in and ask questions if you want, or comments if you have any questions about what I'm doing. I'd be happy to try to answer them to the best of my ability. So let's hope that we have a great broadcast. I had my internet service upgraded last week. This will be kind of a test to see if we don't have all the interruptions and the pixelation and all that stuff. But it could very well be a Facebook issue, along with, what's going on here in my house with the internet. So I'm at the mercy of the internet gods, I guess. So, All right. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to make some jump rings. I'll do that first. I'm kind of probably going to be jumping around as I usually do in these lives because I can't keep the thought process straight all the time. I get a little bit flustered being live. I've gotten much better than I used to be, but still, you know, it's hard for me to present everything in the right order sometimes. All right, so what I'm going to use is I have some 16 gauge sterling silver wire, and I'm just going to wind a little bit of it. I'm not going to wind a lot because I really have, I think, enough jump rings already cut. But this is how you would start off if you were going to cut your own jump rings. And then I have, let's see here. All right, so then I have a little wire winder right here, and I'm just going to clamp this to my table. And I want to make, for right now, I'm going to make 5mm jump rings out of 16 gauge wire. I normally use 18 gauge wire for chainmail, but I tried some 16 not long ago, and I really like it. I like that extra little bit of thickness. So I'm going to put this is a 5mm mandrel that I'm going to put in my wire winder. Just tighten that up. All right, and I feed my wire in differently than a lot of people do. This is just how I came up with it years ago, and I tried feeding the wire in this way. It's awkward for me since I've learned it this way. In my mind, my memory wants to go to this all the time. So I'm putting it in this little slot at the end, and I'm going to wind my silver. And I want to keep the coil nice and straight and tight up against the preceding jump ring, and that way it makes a nice tight coil. I'm holding on to the wire with my fingers so it doesn't stray. It's very easy if you have a lot of loose wire as you're winding. This wire can get away from you and then just kind of loop over your coil. You don't want that to happen. So by just getting a firm grip on the wire, keeping it all together nice and neat. And it takes, see, that's how it starts to slip over. It takes quite a bit of wire to make these coils. And I try to use every bit of it if I can. All right, so that's as far as I can go with that piece of wire. So I take that coil out. Get this out of my way here. Space is at a premium here. All right, so I'm going to take that wire out, and then I'm going to snip off the long pieces. See, there's a piece that I coiled, and I'm going to snip this off. And then I'm going to take the camera over to my flex shaft. Save all your little bits because you can recycle all of that stuff. And let's see here. So this is how much, I should have measured that piece of wire. I didn't think about it, but this is how much I got out of that piece of wire. So, you know, it coils around, so it uses that wire up pretty good. All right, so I'm going to disconnect here and take you over to the flex shaft. All right, here. I'm going to put you in another holder here. Hopefully this will work out. Oh, sorry. I don't want to give anybody motion sickness. Oh, tighten this up. I should have checked this beforehand. I didn't. My bad. All right. I think we're good. All right. So this is where I have my flex shaft located. I work in cramped conditions. Let's see here. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but this is my flex shaft. I take this out. This is the safety hood for my jump ring cutter. This is an old model. Let me open this up here. And this is my blade. I have a circular blade here. And then tighten that up. And then I'm going to line up. There's two little notches in here. I'm pretty sure that the newer models are a little bit fancier and easier to work with, but this is what I got, so I'm using it. So I want to make sure that I'm lined up in these little slots, because this blade has to go into this unit here. It has to fit in here and glide across. So your blade has to be centered just right for it to cut properly. All right, so I'm going to tighten both of these nuts up here, and that's ready to go. Now, try to get this out of the way here. All right, so now I'm going to put my coil. Well, first I'm going to put some cut lube on here first, or Burr Life. This is Rio's brand here, Burr Life. It's just like a wax, kind of like a soapy wax. And I'm going to put that on top of my jump rings where I'm going to cut to help the blade glide along and not have as much drag, because the 16 gauge wire is a little bit thicker than I usually cut. Like I said, I normally do 18 gauge, so this takes a little bit more. Also, inside of this holder for the cutter, there's a little stop under here. It's kind of just like metal that's kind of built up there, so you can only go so far with your coil. All right, so I'm going to put this coil in there, and you tighten the screws, not overly tight, just enough to keep it firm, but I don't want to bow it or bend it. And then I want to make sure that I've got my jump rings all the way pushed up to that stop part. Okay. And then I'm ready to roll. I do this, I cut the jump rings on top of some paper toweling, because there's going to be a lot of silver dust as you're cutting the rings. So I want to keep all that silver dust and put it in my scrap jar. So now I also want to lube the blade, and I'm going to turn the blade on, or turn the flex shaft on, and just hit the blade with some of that lubricant, and then I'm ready to roll. So I'm going to place this in the jump ring holder or cutter, whatever you want to call it. and I'm going to turn on my foot pedal to the maximum, and then I'm going to, there's going to be some smoke. It's not smoke, it's like dust, but it looks like smoke coming up. My blade is kind of old. I should have probably put a fresh one in there, but these are so damned expensive that I try to get the most use out of it. However, that can backfire because you know, if you don't have a nice sharp blade, you can get a rough cut on your jump rings, and you know, with burrs on them. So you don't really want to do that either. So you have to decide what you want to do on there, and I'm gonna put the pedal to the metal, and here goes nothing. Okay. Usually the first and the last ring that were on that coil are usually just partial. So those will go in the scrap bin. But there's your rings right here. Beautiful. That took like no time at all to cut these rings up. Now they have that lubricant on there, so what I would normally do is take these to the sink and run some real hot water over them and get them cleaned up, or if you've got time, you can tumble them and get them all cleaned. Okay, so I've already got some cut, so I'm not going to go through those steps here with you, but that's just for the benefit of those who don't know what making your jump rings is like. Normally I would coil you know, a long coil as long as this would fit. Well, you can't do it quite that big because you have to have room for this thing to fit on. So, you know, you can make it, I don't know, about 3/4 of the length of this. And I make several coils. I guess it just depends on what I'm making. So, but I like to make a lot of jump rings at one time so I don't have to go through it that often. And I like to have a variety of sizes in a little box so that I can always pull something when I need it. All right, put your top back on your lubricant because it tends to dry out over time. And now we're going to go back to my work table. So hang on. Alrighty. And we have to get connected back here. There's a lot of rigmarole to this, doing this stuff. And I want to plug in my power cord just to make sure we don't run out. All right. And I'm back. All right, let me check for messages, comments, questions, that sort of thing. You can see the pores on my skin. Oh my God. Oh, that would be pretty funny. Well, that'd be kind of scary, maybe. Okay. All right. I don't have the item number offhand, Sunny, but I can, Sunny. I keep calling you Sunny. It's Sunny. It's hard to get that in my head. But I'll post that. And, but I get all of my wire from Rio Grande. There's lots of other places. Well, I don't know about lots, but there's other places that you can get it. But I just happen to get it through there. I buy dead soft wire. Yes, Gina, that is a Dave Aarons model. I got it from Dave way back when, and it served me well. I mean, you got yours in 2003. I probably got it maybe 2004, probably right around there. So, and it's still working just fine. So that's cool. Yeah, and then Kevin, I guess, bought the product from him, and now he makes them. So he's made a few changes, but basically it's quite similar. So um, I do not make oval jump rings with this. I've never tried it. I don't have an oval mandrel holder, but I don't know how they would sit in that trough. Maybe there's something, I call it a trough, but um, maybe there's something else that you can use to make the ovals. Not sure. I'll see if I can find out though. Okay. All right. So moving along. All right. I will. My poor mat is getting so junky. I work on it all the time, and it's really showing the wear. And I've tried to clean it, use some cleaners on it and stuff, and it just, I think this stuff is ingrained into the plastic. Okay, so the next step after you have all of your jump rings in place, this is, I'm going to do a chain. I already started this one, so, because, it's boring to watch somebody do chainmail for a long time. So what I'm going to do is turn the camera down here. And to start my chain, no, I always have one of those twist ties around, except now. I can live without it. So what you want to do is we're just doing a basic chainmail weave, which is just putting 2 rings into 2 rings and adding on. So I'm going to start with 2 closed rings, closed really well. And what I would normally do is sit here and open up a bunch of rings. You just twist them open. You don't want to twist them so far that you distort them, but just enough that you can get in to attach them to the rings. So I'm opening up some right here. That one's already open. All right. All right, so I have my 2 closed ones right here, and I'm going to take an open one and slip those 2 closed ones in. Then I'm going to close this one tightly. Take another open one, slip that in. So now I have 2 rings and 2 rings together, okay? And now I'll slip in another 2 into the last 2, close it. This is a real simple weave for something like, you can wear it just like this. If you liked, just have a simple silver bracelet, you could do that. But this is a nice one to attach things to. And sometimes they shoot off at you. All right, close those up real nice and even and tight. You don't want to see any space between the two ends of your jump ring. This will make it nice and smooth. You won't catch your clothes on it. It won't scratch your skin if you've closed your jump rings, and they hold together really well. All right. And I do not solder these. I am not in for that. I think for an application like this, this is just fine. I've got two 16 gauge rings together, tightly closed. Unless they were getting a tremendous amount of torque, I don't think that you would have any danger of losing your bracelet, of it coming apart or anything like that. But, you know, if you want to solder them all power to you. It's just not something I am up for. All right, so you get the gist of that, I hope. It's just adding those together, and I am going to add on to the one I already started. So I'm going to take two, and I have these here together. Add that, and then add another one to get that put together. And then I'll do the same on this end. It actually goes by pretty quickly. Just make sure you don't skip any. All right. Let's see how long this is in comparison to the one I've already made. And that is pretty amazing. That's about maybe a couple links longer. I could take a couple of links off. Let's see how that fits around here. And I have to allow for my toggle. And I also want some movement. I don't want it to be so tight on my arm that I don't get any movement from the bracelet. So I'll just leave it like this for now. So the next thing I would do, I mean, you can do it however you want, but I would put the clasps on. And make sure you mark your rings, the size and the gauge, to keep things straight. I have a box that I keep. Actually, I keep all my jump rings in the boxes, and they're marked, the size and the gauge on there, so that way there's no mistake when you need a jump ring. All right, so I am going to make the clasp. Well, let me check here and see if there's any questions. Jess says they have pliers specifically to turn round jump rings into oval ones. Well, that's interesting. I need to know of this tool. All right, I'll have to research that. Thanks for that, Jazz. Renee says she has an oval jump ring mandrel, or jump ring mandrel, but it was just wondering if there's a way to cut them with the cutter. Like I said, I don't know. I'd have to look into that, Renee. I'll try to see if I can find anything. All right. All right. You want to see the pattern a little closer? Is this? It's just 2 into 2 into 2, all the way down. Okay. And I can see right here, I misconnected one here. It's always good to inspect your work as you're going to see if you have any mistakes before you get too far along. But this one I caught, oops, I caught one of the rings kind of sideways. It didn't go where it was supposed to go, so that's an easy fix. And when you're doing your jump rings, when you're closing them, you should kind of be giving them an inward pressure, slight, and you kind of wiggle back and forth, and they go into place. They close nice and tightly. Here's another one, or else it's the same one I just did. That's where I was connecting the other parts that I already had made. I guess I just didn't do that very well. All right, let's check. The other ones look to be okay. All right, so let's let's move the camera up a little bit because I'm going to get ready to solder the clasp. This is for later. All right, I have some 14 gauge fine silver wire that I'm going to use for my clasp. And my cutters. And then I need I like to use the 3mm jump rings on my toggles. They're just, you can use any size. I'm just saying what I like. Okay. All right. So try to get your wire relatively straight. For the size ring that I'm going to use, where is it now? Where? Oh, here they are. These are a couple of hammered rings that I made a while back, and this is one that I had soldered a little loop on, and I'm going to do that to here, to this too. But this is just 14 gauge sterling. There again, you could use fine if you wanted, but this one happens to be sterling, so I'm using that. And also the little jump ring is 3mm and it's sterling, so I want to close that up. And well, I just kind of shifted from the toggle bar to the ring. I was going to start with the toggle bar. This is how my mind works. It's all over the place. Okay. All right. So if you have a toggle bar that's a little bit thick, you want your jump ring to kind of be placed in the center, and sometimes that's hard to do depending on the thickness of your wire. So I'll use a piece of titanium. I have like a little strip of titanium sheet that I bought from Rio, and I think it only comes in 2 sizes. I'm not certain which ones they are, but it's either 22 or 24 and 26, I believe. But there's only two sizes. But I would go with the thinner one, and then I chopped it up. And that way, if you need a thinner piece, you've got the thinner already. If you need it a little bit thicker, then you can double it up, you know, put another piece on top of that. So that kind of works pretty well. So I guess I'll just go ahead and do this while, as long as I've got this set up. I'm going to put some flux on here. And you could either use paste solder or wire solder. In this case, I'm just going to use some wire solder. And I always put a couple of extra pieces out because I blow them off of the solder block a lot of times. And I've dug little holes in the solder brick too, or the solder board, but it's not always successful. So I'm going to turn on my torch. I'm going to grab, that's not my solder pick. I'm going to warm this up. It's a pretty ratty board that I'm working on. I'm going to come over here and grab a piece of solder, or not. Sometimes I have trouble getting the solder to stick on the this moved a minute, guys. Hang on. Oh, okay, that's better. Sometimes the solder doesn't want to stick to the solder pick, and I think sometimes it's just dirty. It's got too much accumulation on it, or the other issue could be that there's gunk on the soldering board. Now see, that's way up high. I don't want that there. There we go. Got my solder on the end of the pick, and just lay it right down there and let it flow. Where's my quench bowl? Cool off your pick because that gets hot. And then I'm going to just turn this over, make sure that it's soldered, and it did. Okay. So I'll quench that, and because it's sterling, it turns a different color. You know, it gets that fire scale on it, or whatever you want to call it. And now I'm going to put this in my pickle. All right. I've got a little pickle jar right here on a cup warmer. Put that in there, and we'll go ahead and make the toggle bar. All right, for that size ring, I'm going to cut 1.25 inches of 14 gauge wire. So I'm going to mark this off. And cut that off. And now I'm going to ball the ends. Hey, Deb. Hi, Suzanne. Okay, so I want this to be as straight as possible. Then I'm going to ball the ends of this 14 gauge wire. This is fine silver that I'm using here. Whoop. Hello. All right. So I'm just, I don't know if you can see this, hopefully. This is how I do it. I know people do it differently. But it's a gravity thing. So I want to keep the tip of the blue tip of the fire right on the end of the wire. It's awfully bright down here, so I can't see very well. It helps if you have low light. See how it's balling up? Beautiful. Tip that, or dip that, I mean. Now, don't worry, I have my flame on, but it's pointed away. Nothing can burn where it's at. Alright, so now I go to the other end and do the same thing. I can't see where I'm at. Oh, I think I can see better now. If you're not right in that area, in that sweet spot, you can be sitting here for a long time. I think my flame needs to be adjusted. I hit it. There we go. When I knocked it over, the flame got kind of out of whack. Okay, now it's starting to heat up. I hope you can see this. There it goes. I'll go for just a slightly bigger ball. The danger of that is you can melt it a little bit too much, and then it'll fall off, and hopefully not in your lap. So you have to really be careful. Okay, that's good. It went up just a tiny bit, and that is really hot. So I quenched it. Okay. Alrighty. And unlike this sterling silver, this doesn't have to be pickled. This is just nice and very clean like this. And last week, I guess it was last week, when I was doing the demo, I didn't clean my pliers, and I forgot to clean them again. So the pliers left a little schmutz on here, which just needs to be knocked off with a little steel wool, or, well, let's see, I've got this little micro motor here. Let's see if I can just get that cleaned up. That's all it needed. It was just a little hit on that. All right. So now I can solder the loop onto this piece. And I'll want to put that here with a piece of titanium. It's like a little shim. And I'll put the jump ring on top of that. This one has to be closed yet. Hi, Dawn. Okay, so I'm closing this real tight, and then the split where, where it was open, that's the side that I'm going to solder onto the bar. So that closes that jump ring and attaches to the bar. And try to make sure you're centered well. Give it a spritz of flux. Get my silver solder. This is easy solder that I'm using. All right, I've got my solder pick, my quench bowl. Start to heat that up. Get my solder wherever I put it. Here it is. Pick it up with my pick. And there it soldered. It flowed. Check the back side to make sure it's all the way on there. It is. And quench. And there you have it. Now this ring is sterling silver, but the bar is fine silver. So it's just got a little nick of, I don't know what it is, some kind of schmutz, if it's from the flux or probably from the solder board, because there's so much junk on that. Let me just clean that up. I would give this a spin in the tumbler, actually. But you could do that. You could do that now, or you could do it after you've connected your chain to the clasp. I've already got one here made, so I'm going to attach the clasp with you could use whatever 3.5 4mm jump ring. Get a couple of those. Actually, I think what I want to do is I'm going to take off 2 of these because I want these to go in the right direction to put on the clasp. So I'm just going to take those 2 off because I had plenty of length on the bracelet itself, and put this through here. Actually, I had it the right way. Oi, oi, oi. Rather than put those other 2 on, I'm just going to take 2 more off. And this should work. Put that on. And I'm actually going to put 2 jump rings through the toggle ring as well, just for a little additional strength. Okay, so that end is on, and now I'm going to do the same with the toggle bar end. Connected. All right. If you have jewelry tags, they're awfully nice to add to the clasp end of your piece. I especially like to put them on my silver bracelets. when I sell them. I think people like having that on there. Or, I mean, because you can't really put a maker's mark on this kind of thing. So having those little jewelry tags is nice. If you have a logo stamp or a symbol or something, it's just a nice addition. Okay, so there's the frame of your bracelet. All right. So now there's things to add to your bracelet, and there's a variety of different things that you can do. And as long as I have my soldering stuff right here, I'm going to show you. I want to put these away before they get mixed up with something. All right, so for the charms that I made with silver clay, I added quite a few of silver clay pieces, little embellishments that I made previously. This was not. This was a charm I already had. But this little moon face, that's silver clay. This is silver clay. My chicken foot is silver clay. My little burrow is silver clay. My little succulents, they're silver clay. A little bee. This is like kind of like a concho design. But then there are purchase charms that I already had, so I added those to there, to this as well. And also, I have some little saucer beads that I really like a lot, and so I just put those together like that. This was a silver thing that I bought somewhere, as well as this fish. That was a silver charm already purchased. And then I just took some 6mm silver balls and just wire wrapped them on there too, just to give it some interest. You know, lots of different things that you can add on there. And then I used little daisy spacers and some little 2mm silver beads. Those are nice at the end of head pins if you don't have a bald head pin. So those are just some little things that you can use. And also on here, these are all 24 gauge sterling head pins that I wire wrapped on here. But like I said, you could ball your own head pins and add those to your bracelet as well. So there's lots of things that you can do to make this your own. Jazz is asking, how many jump rings do you think you used for that size bracelet? I actually have that in the handout, and I want to say, well, let me grab the handout. So it'll be on your handout. This one had 72 5mm sterling jump rings. So that would be, I didn't count this one out, but it's very similar in length. So just as a guesstimate. And then on the handout also, I've got approximately 50 18 gauge sterling silver, either 3.5 or 4mm jump rings to attach the charms to your bracelet. However, I did not use any 4mm, but if that's what you have, you could certainly use those. This handout is for this specific bracelet that was made. So you can alter, vary the ingredients however you want. All right, so I'm going to put that out of the way, and I'm going to just attach a couple loops to some metal clay charms that I already had made, because I get in these modes where that I vary from technique to technique all the time. That's just my MO. I do that all the time. I can't I can't do the same thing all the time, so I switch things up all the time. So therefore, I have lots of little things in reserve for when I want to do something else. So I've got this little fish that I made, and I've got a 3mm jump ring, and I'm going to attempt to attach him to that little loop. Dina, the handout I will post in the files. Well, I'll send I'll put a post out with the link to get the download for the handout. Those are always at the end of my demos. I always put those out, and I wait until I'm done in case there's something I need to change before I actually put it out into the world. So, all right. So I'm going to flux that, get some more solder. Make sure that's nudged right up against there. Making it worse with my fat fingers. All right. This is always a little bit iffy, the way I'm doing it. Let me see how it is without the tight. Yeah, it's too low. All right. I could attach the rings maybe a different way. Maybe it would be easier, but I'm just going for this. Okay. So warm all this up. I've got the open split from the jump ring right up against the fish's mouth. I'm going to grab my solder. Come on. Be stubborn. I think I have too much flux on this board and crud. Alright. Warm that up. I've got my little solder ball right on the end of my pick. And I moved it. That's not good. He's not laying right. Hang on. I moved him out of whack. He's actually a different thickness. I put him through the rolling mill earlier, this guy, because I was trying an experiment because I wanted to put texture on him. He was already made, and I started, I didn't do a good job with the thickness. I was doing it too tight. I had the rolling mill set too tight, and so his tail end is a little bit thinner than the rest of his body, so that was not laying properly. Let's try this again. All right. Grab another piece of solder here. Come on. I shouldn't have this rotating board either because it keeps moving. I'm going to end up melting my jump ring, I think. The metal clay is thicker. Come on. Oh, soldered his head. See that? That's a bad solder job. Cool off my pick. I may be able to salvage him though. Actually, he's stuck on pretty good. I just have this solder excess to clean up. Let's cool that down a second and quench. Yeah, he's got a little extra solder on his face, but he's soldered on, so now that'll go in the pickle. And then I'll do this B for further humiliation. All right. There's some little divots in this board, so that's where I'm trying to put the solder so they don't blow off when the flame is put on there. All right, we'll warm this up. This B is quite a bit fatter than, or thicker, I should say, than the jump ring. So we'll warm him up. I will grab my solder. I think it's time for a new solder board. And then I moved him. It's a miracle. That didn't look like it was going to work. He's a little crookedy though. But I'm going to go for it. All right. All right. Yeah, Dawn, that's a good idea. I can make a little fisheye. A little fisheye. All right, let's see. When you close these jump rings really well, it's hard to tell where the opening is, but that's a good thing. All right, so this is the last one I'm going to do for demonstration. All right. How do I want this to go? I guess this way would be the right orientation. And this is wrong. I've got the piece on the thing. I want the jump ring on there. Thank God I saw that before. Where is that split? Oh, I see it now. It's very frustrating when you think you've got the split in the right place and you go ahead and, these tweezers are terrible. You go ahead and solder it, and then you realize that you didn't even get close to where that belongs. Paste solder would probably be easier to use, maybe because it wouldn't really move around like it's moving for me. But also the fact that I've got this on the rotating pad isn't doing me any favor. So yeah, I need to break down and get another pad, and the other side is just as bad as this one. Okay, all right. I need to clean these solder picks too. They do accumulate crud, all the flux and stuff. Ooh, that's a bad. Get back. We'll do it. We'll get it. Did you see that happen? That solder just went right over the top of this. Okay. I'll have some solder cleanup on that too, but it came out. Not perfect, but it's okay. It'll clean up. Okay, so that is soldering loops on charms. These have to go in the pickle. I keep seeing my signal cuts out and then instantaneously comes back on, so I don't know. Is that something you guys are seeing? That's the toggle bar that I made a little bit ago. So now these guys are going in the pickle and they're going to get cleaned up in there. About 5 minutes or so is actually enough time for that to work. All right, so now we can build some pieces on here. Okay, good. Yeah, the shim might not have looked flat, but it was. It's just that the board is all caca. You know, it's got stuff all over it, so good. Okay, all right, so next part. Oh, the other thing, as long as I still have the soldering stuff here, I will just do a couple of 20 gauge wire, make a couple of head pins with that. But this is 20 gauge fine silver wire, okay? So you could make your own balled head pins if you wanted. To put your charms on. I really have to remember to clean these pliers. All right, so turn the torch on. And see how fast that was? That just went right up the wire. But I've got a little nib on there that I don't like. There we go. I got that off. So The beauty of these fine silver head pins is they're so easy to make, and they don't have any puckers in them. No puckered balls. Okay. Did you see how fast that was? I in the frame the right? Let's see here. Okay. So here are two 20 gauge balled head pins. Pretty nice. Okay. So when you are putting things together, to me that's the fun part, is getting all your little doodads. I bought a strand of these little turquoise chips when I was in Tucson the last time, and that was a good purchase. So I have saucer discs, different size saucers, little 2mm round balls. I have some 1.5 inch sterling head pins. Boy, this keeps breaking up real. There's no pixelation that I've noticed, but it loses the or freezes for a second and then comes right back. So I don't know. Better than it's been though, I guess. All right. So I have some daisy discs. There's a few different sizes, but I want the little ones. I have some 3mm sterling balls. Put some chips out here. I don't remember where I got these silver discs at, but boy, I love them, and they are not cheap. They, I believe, I don't know, I don't think that these are handmade, but I know you can make them, but that's quite a bit of work. All right. Let's get a 6mm ball. All right, and a couple of the 2mm balls. And I'll just take a head pin, and I'll put a 2mm ball on there. Because I have them, you could put a 3, but some of the holes in some of these beads are larger than the head on the little commercially made head pins. So you need something to plug that up so the pin doesn't go through. Okay, so that's why I use those. And then you put on there whatever you want to put on. If there's a certain pattern, or I don't know, I just like to play and see what I think looks good, and sometimes it doesn't look good, and you take it apart and you try again, but that's part of the fun of doing this. No, I don't like that. Maybe I'll put a 2mm on there just as a spacer. I still don't like that. Maybe no bead. I like that better. And then I'll just put a 3mm on top of that. I mean, you need quite a few components to fill up your charm bracelet. So I'm just going to wire wrap this. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on the wire wrapping. I have a short video on the Artisan's Workshop page, the business page, that shows you, it's me showing you how to do this step by step. But basically, you just put your round nose pliers on the top of the top bead, and I do it this way. I know other people do it other ways. I just turn it that way, rotate my plier. I'm just trying to form a loop. It's just a short series of movements to make that loop. Then I hold that loop with my round nose pliers and grab my chain nose pliers, and I wrap at the base of that loop around probably 2 or 3 times at least to touch the top of that bead. And that way it's nice and secure. I can get my cutters in here. If you guys haven't tried the Tronics little wire cutters, these are like little razors at the end. They're wonderful. Pricey, but wonderful. And you won't regret it. And then I just tuck that little nib of wire, and then that way you have a perfectly wrapped loop. I don't know if you can see that. How can I hold that? There. Can you see that? It's wrapped nice and tight. And so then, you can take, well, here's one of the head pins that I made. So let's see what this fits. I did that would work. See, some of these beads have a rather large hole at the bottom. So like I said, you have to prevent it from slipping through. So a bald head pin, this is 20 gauge, that would work just fine. You just have to make sure that 20 gauge is going to go through whatever components you wanted to put on here. So let's see if it fits. Yeah, it fits with a little 3mm bead too. So that'll be one component. There again, though, because this wire is thicker, you're going to have a thicker loop, wire wrapped loop around here. But that's not really a big deal. We'll just do a few of these, and then I'll show you attaching, and then that'll be that. So this is fine silver here, so I want to keep that scrap separate from the sterling, because all these little scraps from the fine silver you can use to make little balls for other projects if you wanted to. All right, so we've got 2. Now we'll do something with some turquoise. Here I'm just going to put a daisy disc, I think, at the, well, no, I'll put a little 2mm bead first. These little guys are so small. Okay, then a daisy disc, and then some little turquoise chips. You can either just stack them right on top of each other like this, or you can put a little daisy disc or small bead in between them. Just whatever you like. Keep that small. Excuse me. Let's see how a daisy disc would be on top. Yeah, I think I'll do that on top and then put another little 2mm bead. Do the wire wraps. I can't tell you how many thousands and thousands of wire wraps I have done over the years. I could probably do it in my sleep. But once you learn it, once you get it down, it's like riding a bike. You never forget. Tuck that little wire down. Okay, so I have 3 little components made. Right? And I have a chicken foot that I already had. And I have a little silver clay owl that I already had. And I think I'll do one more turquoise chunks. I'm planning on going to Tucson at the end of January next year. I've got my reservations and all that stuff made. I'm hoping that nothing interferes that I can actually go out there. But I have some plans to get some other turquoise. I wished I'd have gotten a little bit more last time, but you know, when you're out there and there's just so many temptations, and you know, I don't have an unlimited budget, so it's hard to decide where I want to spend my money. But I know that when I came home last time, I wished I would have bought a little bit more turquoise, because I really didn't have that much. And there's lots, especially these little nuggets, these little chips. These can be used for a lot of stuff. So I'll just do this one up here. No, actually, Suni, I didn't go to the Holodome. I went. That was at the Jogs show that I bought the turquoise. I generally just go to the Jogs show and the To Be True Blue. Those two I spend the most time at those. But I mean, I have stopped occasionally at some of the other places, but those 2 locations have pretty much everything that I want. So there's a place in Jogs called Sunwest Silver. That's where I bought this strand of turquoise that I'm using today. They have a lot of really nice beads and silver, tons of stuff. I think they have a store somewhere, or at least they're online. But I spend a lot of time in that particular store. Okay, so then when I'm building, what I'm going to do is I'll put the charms on every other set of 2. So I'll start here. So I kind of refer this as like the horizontal and the vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical, all the way down. And I'm just putting them on the horizontal side. So it's like you're just putting them on there. That way they lay nice. If you put them on all of the things, they seem to not lay quite as well. But there again, you can experiment with that and see what you come up with. I put 2 charms per per unit. I'll call it unit. And I put them together with, or I hung them with 3.5s. But like I said, you could use 4s if you had 4s. So I'll take one of those jump rings and I will put a silver bead and a little turquoise cluster, and attach them through both rings. Close them tightly, securely, and then I'll skip those other two and then I'll go to the next. I actually want my flat nose. I like to use flat nose, 2 pairs of flat nose with for my pliers for adding jump rings. So let's put on this little guy. And you know, this is all a balancing thing. You know, it's like you just have to see. What I probably would do, what I would suggest doing, is lay out all your charms. You know, make a substantial amount of charms first, and then lay them out where you think you want to put them. And if you like that design, take a picture of it with your phone, and that way, you know, when you move things around, stuff moves, and you'll still have the order that you wanted available. I put this owl on backwards. I just want to flip him over. Okay, because they will turn around on you, so you want to get them all in the right orientation. Let's see. Put another. So each charm gets its own jump ring. You're not putting it together with the other one. God, Al. Burp's compliment of my husband. Oh, all right. So I'll put this one. Did you hear that? This one's not open all the way. He's on his side of the studio, so you know, we don't have soundproof walls. All right, so hopefully you get the gist of that. I'll just hang this other one, and then I'll come up and talk to you. But, you know, this is, to me, this is just a really a nice piece. You could probably make it in copper. I don't see why you couldn't if you wanted to do that, as long as you have all the little components and the wires. Okay, so that's the beginnings of it, you know, where you would just do 2 on each link. I mean, on every other set of 2. I did. You know what, Nancy, you're right. I did put it on there, but that's not supposed to be that way. My bad. Yeah, I did. I just like the way they hang better when they're independent. We'll fix that right now. But you know, I'm always subject to change. Nothing I do is written in stone. All right, one more here. I didn't even realize that. Okay. I'm glad somebody's paying attention. All right. Put that on there. But like I said before, you do it however you want to do it. There we go. No, I put those on upside down. Duh! God, it takes a village. Well, this has probably been the least flubby demo I've done in a long time. There's always some snafu somewhere. Well, I didn't put anybody on with the owl either. Ugh. Well, this is all. He always throws me off, Marianne. Now he's probably going to be mad at me because I said something. He went upstairs. There we go. That's better. Okay. That's corrected. Yeah, no kidding. All right. So, let me just check back here if there's any things that I missed. Thank you. Yeah, those are the little pins that I made this week, or last week. No, Nancy, I know you didn't think it looked bad. It was just, I said, you know, one ring per charm, and there I put two, so, you know, that throws you off, like, what's she doing? Okay. Yeah, Tronics is a wonderful brand of pliers. This, like I said, they're pricey. They're on the pricey side, but if you take good care of them, they should last you a very long time. And you don't cut real heavy or thick wire with them. You know, I wouldn't cut anything past 20 gauge, you know, thicker than 20 gauge. So these are ideal for getting into tight little spots with head pins and things when you're wire wrapping. The item number on these is 5222. There's several different styles, but these are razor flush cut. But there's another number or two that are very similar to these. But this 5222, I love these. Okay, and I also have a pair of those in the flat nose, because if you're doing a lot of chainmail, those are really kind to your hands. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay. Mary Ellen's asking, remember when you were asking about demo ideas last time? I came up with another one. Looking for ideas for my wish list. How about recommendations for essential tools for the studio? I can do that. I'd be happy to do that. I will do that, Mary Ellen. You know, Jazz, I flub a lot. You know, if you watch me regularly, you've seen me do it all. You know, it's not a demo if I don't flub up something. So, uh, you know, as long as you can handle that, you know, that's good. Yeah, so I don't think I'm going to change anything else on the handout. Um, I think I have everything according to what I did, you know, on here. I did not mention soldering the charms on though, and I didn't uh, go into like the pictures and stuff on the soldering portion. So, but that's the beauty of having the demo on demand, because you can always look it back up and you know, work with the demo. So you can always refer back to that. And like I said, on the wire wrapping, if you're not comfortable with that, you might want to check out the video that I have on the Artisans Workshop page, not this group page that we're in, just what I'd call my business page. And just look under videos and you should find that. I have that demo and the one on making the clasp, not this clasp, but the S-hook clasp. So you know, you might want to check those out, and that will help you. For those of you who watched the rivet tool demo last week, the order's been placed for everything. As soon as I get the stuff, I will divide the rivets and so anybody who ordered the tool, if you want a what I would call a sample pack of different size rivets that I use mostly, I will let you know how much that's going to be as soon as I get them. It shouldn't be much at all for those. I did order some 3/32 eyelets with the order for the rivets, and I'm going to put a few of those in, and then I'm going to show you how you can place that without the rivet tool, just using a center punch. So you can use that, you know, you can use, I use them for the hanging hole of some of the pendants that I make. So definitely it's an easy way to do that. Okay, so unless you guys have any other questions. Dawn, you had minor surgery this morning? Oh boy. Well, I hope everything's okay and that you feel up to snuff real quickly. Okay. You guys are very welcome. I enjoy doing this. And you know, for however long I can do it, I will continue. Next week, not sure, but I was thinking maybe a hydraulic press demo might be in order. I'm not the best at that. I mean, I have one and I use it, but I think a lot of people that watch me don't know what I'm talking about when I mention that stuff. So I thought for the benefit of those who don't know that I might do that. Maybe just dabble with a couple of different things. And Mary Ellen, if I'll try to put a tools list together too. Maybe I'll do like a combination thing. Not really work on a project, but kind of do a lot of information type stuff. Okay. So Suni, I may have extras of those, but they're not going to be like a huge amount. They're going to be several different sizes. in copper, and I ordered a combination pack in brass. So I'll see what I get from that, and then I'll see how much I can divide up. Yeah, yeah. So I'll do that next week. I'll do the press demo and information and a tool wish list. How's that sound? Okay. All right, guys. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. That you stay creative, keep making stuff, post your things on our group page. I always enjoy to see what you guys make. If you have friends that want to join the group or that you think would want to join the group, refer them over, and we will continue to grow and do some fun things together. So see you next time. Thanks for joining in. Bye-bye.